for 6 weeks we had intensive training there, and a lot of history about the Marine Corps was taught to us, and we had a lot of drills. We had a male DI that, of course, I don't think he liked us too well, but he was good to us and taught us an awful lot about the Marine Corps. And of course we had to learn all about the regulations of what it was like to be a woman Marine and how to dress, and we couldn't have our hair any shorter than at our collar, and we weren't permitted to marry until we finished boot camp, and or if we had specialized training. Well, we finally got out of boot camp, and some of us were fortunate to be able to get mess duty. And I guess some of you veterans know about mess duty. Well, I was fortunate that I didn't get it, because on the way down to Camp Lejeune for boot camp, I had enlisted in Cleveland, Ohio, and of course you know that we all went on the troop trains. And the troop train was going around the horseshoe curve outside of Altoona, and the train lurched and threw myself and my buddy into the window. And my hand went through the train window, and of course they had to take me off because I was all bleeding and bloody. So we didn't get down to the boot camp, down to Camp Lejeune on time. So we had a lot of extra. They kept us over in Washington, D.C. overnight. So we had a little special treatment. So we got down there, and then of course we had all the boot camp training, and after I got out of boot camp, I had signed up to go to aviation machinist mate school, which was out in Norman, Oklahoma. Well, they only had 2 classes, and each class lasted 5 months, and it was really an intensive training, and a lot of mechanical things that hardly any of us knew anything about when we first got there. But after 5 months, we knew a lot more than when we started. And while I was waiting to get into Norman, I was assigned to the Guard Battalion at Camp Lejeune. And at the Guard Battalion, we had we were 8 hours on and 8 hours off, and then we had that duty for 24 hours. And that was a lot of fun. We had liberty, and we could go out into New Bern, and so we did a lot of slop shooting, and some of you guys know what the slop shoots are like. And we had parties down along the New River, and I have a lot of things here that go along with my time in the service. And after we got through Guard Battalion, we were sent out again on the troop train all the way out to Norman, Oklahoma. Well, if any of you ever been out to Norman, Oklahoma after you lived in Pennsylvania, you know it's nothing but flat land and hot and dusty and cold. And it was very, very intensive training there, and they kept us stepping from morning to night. And if we got out of line, we had to go extra duty to clean the barracks, which was a tough detail. And you hear about having to clean the floors with two toothbrushes. Well, we had to do that. We had to do that. So we finally got out of 5 months of that training, and we had two places that they were sending the women Marines to bases. One was Cherry Point, North Carolina, and the other one was El Toro, California. Well, I signed up to go to El Toro, and I guess you know where I ended up.
Welcome to Cherry Point.
Cherry Point, you're right. And so I spent a lot of time in Cherry Point, and I was assigned to what they call the test cells. And I enjoyed that part. Here is my badge that I had to wear. And we had to hoist up the engines, these big Pratt Whitney 2600 engines that came off of the airplanes after so many hours of flying. And we had to, they were stripped down completely, and after they were reformed again, or not, I'm lost for words, but reassembled. My husband helped me out. You gotta remember, we're in our 80s here, being in World War II, and we get a little forgetful at times. But anyways, they were reassembled and then taken into the test cells, and they had to be run for 5 hours to meet certain specifications before they were sent out back onto the field again. And I'll tell you, when you signed your name to that engine, it really made you hope and pray that engine was going to work and as it was supposed to, and not conk out when a fellow Marine was over there fighting. So we really were very cautious about how we tested those engines. And then, unfortunately for me, when I was putting this aircraft engine, we were on mounts that moved away from the platform, and the platform moved away from me, and I fell off of this platform about 5 feet, which ended me and my tour of duty. I ended up in the Camp Lejeune Hospital, and I was there from VJ Day. Can you imagine being in VJ Day, going into the hospital? Everybody else was out celebrating, having a great time, and nobody was allowed to go off the base, but you had a great time on base, from what I was told. And the beer and everything, the food and everything was flowing like crazy. So I was there until December, when they transferred me up to Bethesda National Hospital, and I was there, and they operated on me, and I was discharged then the following July. So that sort of ended up my my tour of duty. If anyone has any questions, or if you come into our table in there, you can look at our book. And Rosetta's going to talk to you now. It was my pleasure talking with you. And if you have any questions, why, please feel free to come up and ask us. So,
You get rifle training?
yes, we did. Yes. Yeah. Well, see, I was in earlier.
You can work on this airplane and just use one from your car.
Well, we have a German car.
Alpine exchange.
So he says I don't speak German, so I can't work on a German car. So, yeah, I don't know. Are they going to move this over to Zeta?
How many weeks did you have boot camp?
6 weeks.
Like, unaccustomed as I am. Well, my name is Ozetta Hirschman, and I'm a Johnny-come-lately compared to Fern. I didn't get into the Marine Corps until I graduated from college in February of '45, and of course the war was over shortly after. And I was in boot camp for 6 weeks on that all-important time when we had Iwo Jima and the death of FDR. So we were there, but we had no news of the outside world. We were in our own little cocoon. But as she said, you know, we had boot camp for 6 weeks. I didn't have rifle training. We had no weapons at all. And of course, I guess that was because the war was winding down, and they were in a hurry to get rid of us. After boot camp, I stayed in Camp Lejeune for 13 weeks until I was assigned to her hopeful place, El Toro. And we were selected because of our ability to learn quickly. El Toro was, the men there were exempt from going overseas because it was an assembly and repair area. And they liked it naturally because it was close to Hollywood and Los Angeles. So when they drafted us to go out there to replace them, I could tell you we weren't very popular because that meant that they had to go overseas to the Pacific. So anyhow, I was assigned to the carpenter shop because my natural aptitude, I guess. And my first job was to sit on the floor with a star drill and hammer a hole in the concrete all day long. But finally, they taught us a little more. I worked in a carpenter shop that had all the planers and cross-cut saws, all the equipment that any carpenter shop would have. And we were taught to use that. We milled our own lumber, and one of my jobs was to make picture frames for the Colonel's flyboys. And we put in partitions in the hangars. We did everything that a carpenter would do. And of course, being close to Hollywood and Los Angeles, we had open gate liberty, and it was really nice for us. I enjoyed my time. They kind of kicked us out at the end of the war, because I guess they didn't want us anymore. And as we had really enlisted at the convenience of the government, so they discharged us for the same reason. Yeah, for the duration of the war. And I was discharged the same time as Fern in July of '46. I wish I could have stayed. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I would love to have stayed in, but we weren't able to. That's my story. If you have any questions. No, we did nothing with gas masks. We just mostly had classes in customs and courtesies and that sort of thing. And drill. In February of '45. I don't know. No, they wanted to rush us through. I'm finished.
Did you do obstacle courses in boot camp?
No. Did you? Did you? Oh, we didn't. We just had drilling.
It sounds like they gave you the full Marine Basic, and they gave you a very abbreviated version of it.
Yes, as I say, it was close to the end of the war, and they were rushing us through.
Well, they needed those carpenters. They have another. They took her down to the offices where we were supposed to speak with her. Maybe down there.
Did you see Kathy?
Any other questions? I enjoyed my time here, even though I started being in the hospital and I ended up in the hospital. But it was a great tour in between. It was I said that I started out being in the hospital before I even got to boot camp, and then I ended up being discharged from the hospital with a medical survey. So, but in between that time, I had a hell of a good time.
Something that I think is funny, when we went on the troop train to go down to Camp Lejeune, and it ended up dead-ended right on the base. And tongue-in-cheek, I said, "Ha, I bet they have a brass band for us." And sure enough, they did. There it was playing as we got off the train.
I think we have our other veteran coming here. Yes, very, very rough. He was strictly gung-ho, and he didn't mess around with us at all. We had an awful tough DI, and at that time, when I first went in, the women were only in from February the 13th. 1943, and till when I got in was only a few months, and a lot of the men, of course, didn't like us, and I understand that one of the commandant's picture fell off the wall in the commandant's house at 8th and I. When he found out that there were going to be women in his Marine Corps.
Another thing that the men said that the Marine Corps is really going to pot. First they had the blacks, then they had the dogs, and then the women. That was us.
Is it time? Is everybody ready?
It's natural voice only.
There we go.
I'll introduce myself then. Thank you. My name is Mickey Robinson. I was in World War II during from 1943 till the war ended in 1945. And there are three things that people ask when they find out that you were in the Marine Corps. The first thing they ask me is, what did you do in the Marine? No, I guess that's it. What did you do in the Marine Corps? Like, Daddy, what did you do in the war? And the second thing is, how long were you in? And we were in World War II from the time we were old enough. I was old enough with parental consent in 1943 at age 20. The Marine Corps was not accepting anyone younger than that. It had just started accepting women in 1943, as Fern told you. So, and then we signed up for the duration. We didn't know how long that would be. So as it turned out, it was 27 months for me. And a funny thing I remember, I got married the second year that I was in El Centro, California. Incidentally, it's a Marine Air Base where the Blue Angels train during their off-season. I just learned that last year. It was a wonderful Marine Air Base. I think it's a Navy base now. Yeah, it is, Blue Angels. Now I lost my train of thought. The funniest thing I remember is we were all so tired of wearing the same old uniform day after day that there was a little variance in your underwear. You could have a plaid bra or blue panties or something, but nothing could show except your uniform. Well, I was going to be married the second year to another Marine out there in El Centro, and during wartime, you're not allowed to be out of and this is the way I came home. You're not allowed to be out of uniform at all. I had to carry a 3-day pass with me all during that weekend that I was married, and all 6 of us Marines, all 5 of them had uniforms on, and I was the only civilian for 3 days, back in uniform as soon as I was married. Is that enough? Okay, passing on to the next person. No. The hem of it, you mean? Whether they were too short or too long? No, never did. Well, they knew that we were well trained. We wouldn't dare do anything that. I think our boot camp was only 6 weeks long, though, because we didn't have to do. There was no high tech like there is today. You know, the computers. We didn't have air-conditioned barracks on the desert, so it was hot. In El Centro, Mexicali, went to Mexico, and illegal. That's what I did. I mean, that's all we did. That was our Liberty town, Mexicali, right on the border of the El Centro Air Base. So they ran little cattle wagons right over there, from the base right to the gate that you walk through the border, you know. No. You got to the other side, and there were little Mexican boys calling the calling the Marines. I'm gonna go home with my sister. My sister's waiting for you.
My sister.
Oh yeah, my sister. And they had plenty of food over there. Well, we thought we were eating steak. Goodness knows what it was, but it was scarce in the States, and we were getting good food over there in Mexico. That was the liberty of it. I was in the quartermaster commissary department, and I ordered food for the mess halls. There were 300 of us women and 3,000 men. We were the first 300 on board, and they had just built a barracks for us, but they didn't have a mess hall for us yet. So we had to eat with the men, and we were dished out the same portions that the men got. Great big slab of this and that as you pass through the chow line. What else? What do you think the odds are? 300 women and 3,000 men. Pretty good. I came home with a husband, all right. So did everyone else.
Did you undergo rifle training?
Not rifle. We wore gas masks and went through a little building that, we were scared to death. You went in this door and you put that mask on and don't let it leak, because I don't know how much longer you got out the other end. But no rifles. Sorry to say, bad to say, I guess.
What do you call a lady charter?
Hey.
Hey.
Enough of that.
Respect.
Ma'am.
Not a wham, right? Woman Marine.
Right.
Good job.
Beautiful American Marine. Speaking of the clothing, during World War II we didn't have nylons. We had to wear rayon stockings, and they were very shiny, and we weren't proud of that. If you wore them wrong side out, it dulled them a little bit, but we weren't allowed to do that. Anyhow, I came off Liberty with my stockings on wrong side out, and the SP stopped me. And he looked down there and he told me about it. But at the same time, he didn't notice that I was a corporal, but I had an officer's emblem on my cap, and he never noticed that. I don't know why.
How did you end up with an officer's emblem on your cap?
I got one and put it on. And speaking of food, at El Toro we had the best food on the West Coast, because we had access to all the fresh vegetables and everything, and all the men wanted to be invited to our mess hall because they ate so well.
Kathy, go to talk?
How did your family feel about you joining the Marines?
They were proud to sign permission for me, because there were only my 12-year-old brother and 20-year-old me. So they said to do their duty, they were glad to do it. Yeah, they were proud. Everybody's proud to have a Marine in the family, I think. I've always found it. Thank you. Thank you for sitting in the sun and listening to us.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, we have our albums here, and we're located in the hangar on the left-hand side of Jenner, close to the Randy Kaufman's display of all women, well, a lot of women Marine uniforms, which is a fantastic collection. He has devoted a lot of time and money into this collection, and it's really worthwhile to see. And also right next to us is the Marine Corps League, and I better give them a plug because they're the ones that sponsored us. And they're right, well, and my escort here. And so hi. Oh, so we're hoping that here comes the Navy.
Seabees, remember?
Oh, the Seabees. Okay. All right. Any want to say anything further, Rosetta? Okay, well that's it for us then for this time. So thank you for your attention, and we hope that you'll come in and visit us at our table, and we can show you our albums, which I think are a lot of interesting things in them. Okay.
You have a piece in your album on the ground next to the lady in green. Don't you fill out of your album on the ground there?
Thank you. Our next speaker will be at 11:30, Mr. Mike Carilla.
You're welcome.